Hi everybody, it's Janet from String Theory, and we have a special guest today on our video, and I'm talking to Ann Weaver, and we're going to be talking about Plied, new yarn that we've got in at String Theory. So Ann, tell us a little bit about how Plied came about.
Okay, so Plied, which I'm wearing a sample here, we're going to be showing you guys a few more samples, is a new yarn. We launched it late last year, really limited launch, that Carita Collins, who's the owner and artist behind Neighborhood Fiber Company, and I launched in partnership with Harrisville Designs in New Hampshire. So Carita and I took a weaving workshop at Harrisville Designs several years ago, and part of the workshop was a chance to tour the Harrisville mill. And when we toured the mill, we looked at each other and said, we need to get in on this. When we heard the Harrisville story, we toured the mill. It's a family-owned company. They've been making textiles in New Hampshire for hundreds of years. And so it's part of this tradition and keeping alive made in the USA products. So we wanted it. We didn't really know what that would look like or what kind of a yarn we would make. So it was a few years of development and back and forth and figuring out if there is a way we could create a new yarn, something unlike other yarns on the market, because there are a lot of hand-dyed yarns, and Carita already owns a yarn company, so this needed to be something different. And after a lot of experimentation, work with Harrisville to see what was possible, what was actually feasible, we came out with Plied. So that's the beginning. So it's a brainchild of me and Carita Collins. And we just hired our first employee, who is my sister, who is now working for us part-time. So it was all us up until now.
All
it's in the family. Yay.
So what makes Plied different? Like you said you wanted to do something different than Neighborhood Fiber Company. And so what, you know, as a knitter, if I'm knitting with it, how am I going to experience this yarn differently than I would other yarns that are out there?
Okay, so that's a really good question and was something important to us because, again, there is a lot of great yarn already out there. So Harrisville is a woolen spun mill as opposed to worsted spun. So long story short, the difference between woolen spun yarn and worsted spun is that woolen spun is a lot lighter and airier. It has a more rustic feel to it. Often, if you've ever worked with any sort of tweed yarn, be that Brooklyn tweed or Cowborn Woolen's Lucky Tweed or any sort of Shetland yarn, you'll notice that they're very light, they're very lofty, they might feel a little more rustic. So Plied is a woolen spun yarn, which is rare among hand dyers. Not unheard of, but rarer than getting a worsted spun yarn. So the result is a yarn that's really, here's a close-up of one of our colors, is a yarn that blooms a lot when you wash it. So by bloom, I mean the fibers spread out and fill in, so it starts to feel puffier. Blooms a lot more than a worsted spun yarn where the plies are much tighter. It feels lighter, it just weighs a lot less. So one important thing, if you're a knitter, if you're knitting with Plied, is that if you make, let's say, a cable with a lot of, sweater with a lot of cables, or a tunic, something that just uses a lot of yarn, it's going to be much lighter. So it's, I have a beautiful tunic that I wear a lot and it doesn't sag, it's not heavy, it keeps its shape really well because it's so light. So it's great for garments. It's extremely warm because it is so lofty. There's air between the fibers, so it's very, very warm. It blooms beautifully and it's very light. So those are some of the ways it's different from a worsted spun yarn, which is, again, most hand-dyed yarns. It also is not superwash. So woolen spun yarns don't tend to be superwash. I don't know if any are, but it's not superwash. So it has, again, a more rustic feel than a superwash yarn. I know that superwash merino is super soft. So this isn't quite as soft as that, but it is very soft when it's washed. And it has a very different feel that you cannot get from a superwash yarn. And I think people are becoming more interested, knitters particularly, in how different yarns behave and what you can use them for. So people looking for an alternative to that very smooth superwash surface, heavier, tighter twist, I think will really enjoy working with this yarn just to get a completely different effect.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I yesterday opened up the box and picked out this color. This is called the Gateway. And I'm going to pair it with this yarn, which you can sort of see. This is Plied, the Gateway, and this is Neighborhood Fiber Company Next. And I'm going to do the...
it's Loft. The base is
Loft. Sorry.
Mohair
Loft.
and Silk.
The color is Next. And so I'm going to put these two together in a striped cardigan, which is called Elton by Hohi Locatelli. So I'm very excited about that project. What other, what are you wearing?
Okay, so this is Dawn, which is a shawl by Grace Anna Farrow, a stitch to wear. And here you can see it's very simple, stockinette stitch stripes. You can see the color gradations that we've gotten using Plied. And this is very light, very lofty, really warm, and after washing, extremely soft.
So is that 3 skeins or 4?
This is actually 5 skeins. So you need, 4 skeins. 2 skeins of one of the colors and 1 skein, 2 skeins of 2 of the colors and 1 skein of each of the others. So this is a total of a 2 skeins each, 6 skein project.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we have a lot of different project ideas, everything from 1 skein project to a 12 skein tunic. But again, really light. Another thing that was important to us when we worked with Harrisville was that the yarn they gave us, the yarn they sourced for us, it's our own blend, was able to take really bright dye colors. That if you've ever shopped Neighborhood Fiber Company, you know that really saturated colors are trademark. And we wanted to have that in Plied too. That's part of our signature look. So we worked really hard to get a yarn that was strong, soft, and also could create a color like this. So you'll notice some overlap between some of these colors and Neighborhood Fiber Company colors, but also some colors like this, which is 1 ply of very dark brown black and 1 ply of a sort of greenish gray, which are much more my style, not quite so Neighborhood Fiber Company. So we also have more subtle colors in that sort of murky off black, which I'm really interested in too.
Well, and it's interesting to see too, these, you can see more of that there's 2 plies, because there's definitely the 2 colors. And then we have this one, which is much more subtle. I mean, it's a little more obvious in person than it is showing up on the camera, but much more monochromatic, I guess.
Yeah. It has just a semi-solid look, as opposed to a marled look. So they're all marls. So all of the colors are 1 ply of 1 color plied with a 2nd ply. All the colors are hand dyed. So it's 2 hand dyed plies. So in this case, it's pink plied with red, fuchsia plied with red. In this case, it's brown, black, and gray, green. So they are all marled yarns, but some, again, are more obviously marls. Others come across looking like semi-solid. But there's just a lot of depth of color from 2 plies, both dyed in a semi-solid kettle dye process.
Very cool. Cool.
Yeah.
So we've got all 25 colors of the new Plied yarn at String Theory. So I hope you will come out to check that out for us. And we've got this weekend, we've got samples. So with Anne here, she's going to be here this whole weekend, and she's brought a ton of samples. So you get a chance to see how it knits up and how the different colors knit up, and pick your favorite project.
Yeah,
so
we'll have a lot of suggestions to everything from mittens to sweaters to shawls, both the samples we have and also just recommendations based on what Karita, what I've been knitting, what our sample knitters have been knitting, just to give you a good sense of how it works up and what it's really good for.
Cool. Well, we hope you'll stop by this weekend and see us. And if not, we are going to have the yarn pass this weekend. So please come out and see it. And you're going to fall in love. There's a project for you. We have so many to choose from, and you're really going to find something that I'm sure you'll love and you'll love to work on. So see you soon.
Yay!